The next session is a very special CxO panel, and we're going to see from or hear from executives about how they more effectively manage cyber risk in a time of new incident disclosure rules. So please welcome to the stage Thiébaut, Meyer, who is the Director, Office of the CISO for Google Cloud. We also have Benoit Fuzeau, who's the CISO for CASDEN and President of CLUSIF. We have Aljona, Reiser, who's the Head of Cyber Business Risk at Commerzbank. And we have Ariane, Chapelle, a partner at BDO Chapelle. Please welcome them to the stage.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, panelists. So now we are going to talk a little bit about managing cyber risk in a time of new incident disclosure rules. So we all seen in the recent times some evolving regulations. You heard about NIS2 directive, about the DORA regulation for in the financial services. So we are going to discuss now, well, first of all, on a governance perspective, how do we enable this risk disclosure policy within, I would say, an overall risk strategy. And then maybe we're going also to tackle a little bit about technical and operational considerations. So, well, maybe first question for you, Ariane. Maybe beginning with, I would say, a pessimist questions regarding incident disclosures. Do you think it can potentially damage some reputational or create some legal liability, even if you are still technically compliant? And from your perspective, how can this impact be mitigated?
Right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My background is operational risk for the last 25 years, and cyber is a side competency I have because, of course, working in operational risk, I speak to a lot of IT departments. Just so that is said. Yes, I think compliance and reputation overlap, but are neatly different in a sense that you can be compliant to DORA, NIS, whatever, but still be very much impacted reputationally if you have a cyber incident, even though you've done not only everything we could or everything that ticked the box to the regulator. And just a wave to Martina on the intervention this morning. And because we're on a risk measurement seminar, I'd like to also introduce potentially some questions or food for thoughts on the measurement of reputation, because we talk a lot about the difficulty of measuring cyber risk or the importance of FAIR. I would also encourage you to measure reputation risk and to measure reputation risk in the behavior of stakeholders, because reputation is multidimensional. Reputation about what and reputation to whom. So reputation about what, if you have a cyber incident or disruption, that's pretty obvious. To whom is who do you impact, whether your suppliers, your regulator who's going to bash you with scrutiny, how much is it going to cost, and reputation to other important stakeholders, like obviously your customer, whoever trusts you with your security. So yeah, it's fairly different. On the on the mitigation side, well, that you relate to the crisis communication, the 3 R's of crisis communication, regret, repentance, and remedy, or basically you can phrase it the way you want. You just a recognition, you acknowledge the fact, you as transparent as possible, as quickly as possible, You say sorry, you apologize, you recognize your mistake, and then you explain and you try to come across with as credible as possible to fix the issue. That's on the correction side. On the preventative side is everything we discuss in terms of cybersecurity.
Thank you very much. In all our organization, we have sensitive data. We may have ongoing investigations, some data we do not want to disclose. Aljona, can you tell us your thought about how can organization can balance this need for transparency on one hand, on the other hand, this protection of such critical data?
So first of all, an organization should have clear guidance and policies how they deal with sensitive data, how they disclose it, and have it basically somewhere documented. Yeah, that's on one hand. On the other hand, when it comes to disclose information, you should balance how much transparency do you want to provide when you disclose it? Is it enough to have it aggregated or provided on really detailed level? Then another factor comes in. You should, in general, and no matter of whether it comes to DORA and other regulation, we are in a data-sensitive world. You should be careful about the data you have in the company. It's basically your value. There are big companies in this world who basically make money with your data. Looking at you as well. So you should have encryption and data protection measurements, how you deal with sensitive data. And when that's on one hand, but on the other hand, you should also have continuous monitoring and auditing who has access to what kind of data in your company, and you should only allow the access to people who need to know it, so need to know basis. People should have access to the data only if it's required for their job to be done. Yeah, does a developer of a tool need to know the sensitive data you're about to disclose to, let's say, ECB when he develops or she develops a tool, or is it enough to have sensitive synthetic data? Yeah. All together, you always need to train your people, make aware how important it is to be cautious about sensitive data and how you handle it. And so these are some points that you just need to be aware of and how you deal with sensitive data.
Thank you very much. Benoit, do you want to react on that?
Yes, because I am a CISO, so you know I have this trouble, and it's not only to write paper, but it's to training. I think it's the most important thing is training and to understand what you want to protect and what you want to discuss, to communicate. I think it's more. I am a president of an association, the CLUSIF 2, and I want to make that the crisis exercise is obligatory for every company or organization, because I think a training is the more important, and you can have DORA, NIS, everything, must training. And don't confuse compliance and security. Now we are going to make a lot of compliance, the number of vulnerability increase, the number of incidents increase too. What change? For me, nothing. I'm so sorry, but and you have a regulation, you have a lot of things, but Chaka said, we are just a young, we are immature, and I think you are right. And you must progress, and I think this method fair can change the mentality of these things.
Thank you. When we're dealing with risk and security, some organizations sometimes complain about the cost of this, I would say, ongoing regulation. Maybe another question for you, Aljona. What do you think about the impact of the cost of this, this new regulation about incident disclosures?
Obviously, that has cost impact on any company who needs to comply to any regulation. So first of all, you need to have experts within the company or at least people who focus to get to the bottom of the regulation. So invest time, that costs money. What does new regulation mean? Then you might want to employ some experts from outside, so not only internals, but have some consultancy, legal experts coming in and consult you on how to deal with this new regulation. And once you got to the bottom of it, you might need to adapt to the technology, set up guidelines, procedures. You need to look at personnel. Do you have enough personnel to deal with this regulation on a daily basis once it's implemented? So it's all costing money. Then you also need to basically, again, train people. What does this regulation mean? How do we deal with that? And again, money. So it's painful on one hand side. On the other hand side, thank you, regulators. It keeps us doing work. Yeah, there is always some work next to doing the business. One other aspect of costs, bridging to the morning session to Mina's talk on third party. If you have third party, that can be also cost impacting your cost, because you need to look into how does this new regulation have an impact on your third parties, and you might need to go into contract negotiations, monitor the third party, and do penetration testing, auditing, assessing how they are dealing with that and whether they are dealing with this regulation. So again, all comes into this bucket that it costs money. But in the end, you should look at doing nothing might also come with a cost, because if you don't comply, penalties, legal suits, and so on. So rather, it's maybe more cost effective. Not maybe. You should put it into place and that you're compliant with the regulation, and instead of dealing with the cost after not complying. Yeah, it could be really unlimited. Yeah.
Thank you. Ariane, do you want to share your thoughts about also this trade-off between cost and position?
Yeah, you're right. I reacted because you said, and I know that's not what you meant, but that's what I heard. Oh, if you don't invest in cybersecurity, basically you're going to have the cost of non-compliant. I would say first you'll have the cost of incidents, probably, but again, a bit of a wave to the regulator. I'm studying bank regulation for, gosh, I don't want to tell you how many decades. But the regulation can become so overbearing that banks manage the regulator before they manage their risks. And that's a perverse effect, and I'm not surprised you're nodding, and that several people are nodding in the audience, because that's very much what I observe over the last 25 years. And I very much like the intervention this morning, but Marina, about, and we were discussing about the spirit of the regulation, and I would really, again, as an observer of the regulations and regulators in many countries in the world, I would encourage you to stick to the spirit of the regulation more than the letter, because no one knows the thousands of pages and dozens of thousands of pages of the handbook. And if you manage your risk as un bon père de famille, and there are enough people speaking French here to understand genuinely, I think that more often than not, it will go smoothly.
Can you come to my committee, please, to explain that?
Invite me and I'll come.
Because they understand the regulation and not the pragmatic and to the philosophy of the regulation, and it's a very, very big problem for us. Yeah. And the invest is a problem for the cybersecurity. When you make a lot of things, you have no attack. So the manager see nothing. Don't forget that. So you must have board indicators to show what you do in your company. And when you say it's not important for us because it's not to show what's happened for the spam or some technical something, but show some indicators to make the spend of this money is useful. I think it's more important than that, and it's like the regulation, it's the philosophy to show.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. Now, in fact, it's an excellent segue if we want to ground a little bit about operational considerations. Benoit, you mentioned earlier incident response, crisis management. Aljona, you mentioned third-party providers. So please, Benoit, can you please tell us if you think that as a CISO, what you see in organizations, response plans should be updated to align with these new reporting rules, and also how do third-party should fit into these frameworks?
It's a good question. I think it's not the problem of the regulation, but it's to practice and to have one. What is a disclosure, for example, for a CISO, for the company? You speak about the data. What is the more important data? What is the risk of this data? And to understand that, like you say, Jack, it's not very understood by the whole management. They want more business, they want more, but the security is not a problem. It's a problem with another one. So the incidence of weapons, it's not depends of the regulation, but it's to know in your regulation what is important and what is the moment where you detect and you provoke and to press the button to stop the company, for example. And to train about that. Is it for 5 people who call the hotline to say, I have a trouble with my PC? Is it because I can't access to the one data? What is the most important for that? And the relegation is not clear about that. Like you say, it's the philosophy. And you must adapt in your company, in your organization, I think.
Thank you. Following on this technical consideration perspectives, Aljona, can you explain a little bit what do you think should organizations should have as technical capabilities? I'm thinking about threat detection, local analysis, these kind of things, to be able to have early incidents, notification, and of course fulfilling with this regulation.
I mean, it depends on the size of the company, what makes sense to utilize, and there is a huge bouquet what you could use. And the larger the company, the more complex the company, the more tools you would require. So starting with threat detection systems that detect any intrusion, and so you can monitor your network traffic. You have detection of endpoints and so on and so on. You could analyze your logs, monitor your logs, so you can draw a conclusion. First of all, collect that and then draw a conclusion what it means. Is there something unusual happening? And does it indicate anything that there is some incident happening? Yeah. The larger your company is, you might want to have a managing system, CM system, to collect all this data in there and not only have it there analyzed, but also kind of a system how you follow up once you see this incident and what happens after that. So you react more effectively and faster. You might want to have vulnerability management, program. So the clearer it is to you that you have a vulnerability and you have it's clearly there in your, let's say, dashboard, the faster you can mitigate this risk. Yeah, if you're not really aware of where your vulnerabilities and how fast you deal with that, good luck dealing in case of zero-day exploit. Yeah. You might want to analyze user behavior. Yeah, what's happening, where it's happening, what kind of data is flowing where. So it might indicate if there is some anomalous behavior to one system. So it could indicate that there is some incident. Yeah. So in general, these are a few examples, and I could go on and on and on,
Thank you. I know that we are almost on time. Just maybe one last question for you, Ariane, because we would like to talk about risk quantification. And of course, we had a brilliant demonstration just before that it's not just about talking about numbers, but going beyond. So what do you think are the best practices for this risk quantification regarding this specific topic of incident disclosures?
Yeah. Just a few points here, and I'll be brief. Always better to talk in millions than in colors. Once you quantify in dollar terms or in euros, everybody listens. A red impact says nothing and super ambiguous. So I'm, absolutely in favor of quantifying. And then second, it's quantifying in chunks. And I was picking up the leaflet of FAIR, which I knew for many years, and I have my own stuff, but it's very, very similar. So you have different types of impacts, and you can segregate what you have to report from a regulatory perspective, so which is basically the financial direct and indirect impact, so obviously the legal cost and the extra consultant cost and the repair and all these immediate aspects. But then the reputation damage, the regulatory scrutiny, the management attention deviation. You have a name. It's quite cool, actually. I pick it up to use it. But it's basically the opportunity cost of the attention deviation. All these are more what I would call the management cost of the incidents that you don't necessarily have to report, that actually the regulator don't ask you to quantify reputation damage, but many of us probably would want to do that. And again, I would encourage you to capture this reputation impact, not with fantasy, but with observable change in behaviors of the impacted stakeholders, and talk to your board. And you can do that in a simulative way of, if our CPU is down for 3 hours, that's what it would cost us. Are you sure you want to, or obviously when you have incidents, but in monetary terms.
Thank you very much.
The stakeholders is very interesting. When you have an incident, look what's happened in the stock option. It's very interesting. You saw it's down quickly, and after it go up slowly.
Yeah, but the stock option is, I mean, the stock value is quite a noisy data, and it's one capture. But you know, customer attrition or vendors' behaviors or whatever it is are more direct measures and overlooked, or capacity to attract talent, which is huge actually, and very much overlooked in firms.
Thank you very much. I think we're coming to an end. So just, well, a few takeaways I've noted. First of all, consider the spirit of the regulation and not the words. Do not mix up compliance with security. And finally, train your people, your staff, and it'll be okay. Please thank the panelists and for this good discussion.
Thank you.